A book so wild, it brought me out of my booktube hiatus. Hi, it's been a while. At the end of last year, I was having a hard time with world events. The only reading I was really doing was doomscrolling the news, which tumbled into some seasonal depression, and after the winter was over, I had a baby. So it had been several months since I had been reading for fun, but now that I'm here in the newborn trenches, I've begun to read for fun again. Yay. Which brings me to this book. So this was a skip-the-line copy on Libby, a place that I check frequently to see what's popular and what to read next without having to invest a lot of mental energy into a formal TBR. The synopsis preview is what intrigued me, and it read, "The viral TikTok stalker dark romance burning with high heat, hilarious banter, and a love story like you've never seen before." And it certainly got that last part right, as this was actually my first dark romance book. So I guess that's part of my disclaimer for this video. I'm not a dark romance girly, and a lot of these kinks are not what I would consider my own, right? But, I'm willing to try anything at least once, which is something I have in common with the female MC of this book. And, I don't think it's a far stretch to think that maybe I would be interested in this kind of book as a OG Twilight girly. A lot of the criticisms of Edward were about some of his creepy stalker-like behavior, so I thought I would give this a try. I mention this though because perhaps some of my criticisms of the book come from a place of being an outsider of the niche and not knowing its conventions. Still not sure on that one. You can comment down below and tell me. But before I get into my criticisms, I want to go over the setup of the book and the story and the things I think it did well. Lights Out by Navessa Allen comes with a long list of content warnings straight off the bat. And if it wasn't clear already, this is a very smutty, spicy, adult content kind of book. It follows Allie, a trauma nurse who has a masked man kink, and she spends her time online indulging in this kink, following masked man content creators and their thirst trap videos, with her most favorite content creator being a user with the handle the.faceless.man. As a trauma nurse, she's busy, tired, overworked, doesn't have a lot of time for a real relationship. One day, after yet another rough shift at the hospital, Allie comes home, wants to decompress a bit, starts scrolling these videos and is feeling particularly sexually frustrated. So she decides to reach out to an old hookup buddy of hers named Tyler and sends him a screenshot of one of these videos and is like, "Hey, want to wear a mask like this for me? And, do the thing?" And Tyler responds and is like, "Hey, it's been like 2 months. I thought you disappeared. Pass on the mask thing, not into it. Also, I'm seeing someone now anyway." POV then flips to our male main character named Josh, who is Tyler's roommate and best friend. They start talking about Allie. Josh is a bit of a paranoid recluse who knows quite a bit more about Allie than you would expect someone to know about their roommate's ex-friend with benefits. I think the point of this characterization is to give Josh some stalker energy. He's also the son of a famous serial killer and bears an uncanny resemblance to his father, which is one of the reasons he's decided to hide his face by wearing a mask in the thirst trap content he actually makes for his millions of adoring fans on the internet. Because, surprise, Josh is actually the.faceless.man. I know. What a coincidence. Anyways, Tyler is like, "Look at this weird stuff my ex is into, haha," and Josh is like, "What?" Because it's a screenshot of one of his own videos, unbeknownst to Tyler, who is unaware of Josh's little side gig. Josh proceeds to leverage his cybersecurity and stalking skills to find out more about Allie and her mask kink, because he's like, is she really into this stuff though? And even after finding all her thirsty comments, among thousands, mind you, on his videos, he's like, I really gotta make sure. And the next logical step in making sure is breaking into her house, setting up a camera, and spying on her. Oh, and also while he's there in her house is like, time to film a thirst trap video. And then the next 50% of the book is just really them playing out this masked man stalker fantasy. One of the things I think this book did well was make the lines of consent fairly clear during the spice scenes. That was something I was a little bit hesitant about going into this book. The author did a good job knowing when to push the boundaries of consent. For example, him initially breaking into her house without her being home, right? But making it pretty black and white during the actual hookups. And while the whole stalking, home invasioning, camera watching crosses my own personal lines of consent, I understand that the point of this book and genre is to explore this fantasy aspect within the safety of fiction. The spice was mostly fine. maybe a bit crude and a little more frequent than my typical preference, but there is certainly an audience for that. And if that audience is you, that is a pro. The more that I read, though, the more of a slog it felt like to get through some of these scenes. And it didn't help that the little critic voice in the back of my head was getting a little bit louder and louder as I went on, making it more and more difficult to kind of suspend my disbelief to enjoy some of the finer qualities of the story. At first it was small things, right? Like dubious forensics, cringy dialogue, or things that cross lines for me, even in fiction, like this part where Allie says that she almost wishes a known rapist would try something with her just so she could see Josh intervene, and I just, no. Or like a joke would be kind of funny at first, but then the MMC would just use it over and over again, and it just became less funny over time. Josh's sense of humor often came across to me as juvenile. I don't remember if it's explicitly stated in this book, but I remember thinking to myself at multiple points, how old are these people? Because they come across like little teenagers. No offense, teenagers, but you know what I mean. Which leads me to the fact that this book was oddly unserious and lighthearted for a dark romance. Again, this was my first in that category, so I have nothing to compare it to. So this could just be a convention of the genre or a style that is used in the genre. Honestly, this one is probably mostly my own fault because how serious can we be with a TikTok thirst trap origin story? For example, after one of their hookups, Josh is like, watch out for that video I'm going to post later, eyebrow waggle. And Allie goes online, she finds the video, and it's Josh pantomiming the hookup they just had to an emo 80s hairband song, and the book is just so specific about the individual video transitions in the thirst trap. It's cringe. It's cringe. The caption for this gem was Mommy and Daddy Time, which Allie just finds exceptionally hilarious, and I'm just over here like, no. You're kidding me, the ick. Something I learned, I think, from reading this book is that thirst trap videos in general just are kind of one of my icks. Beyond these small things, right, the plot itself is just a bit chaotic and disjointed. I mean it when I say that the first half of the book is really just about the smut and there are little real conflict or stakes. For some people, for this kind of book, that is genuinely a pro. For me, it's like around 60-ish% of the way through the book, the author was like, oh, I don't have a plot. Let me come up with something really quick. And yeah, so here's your major plot spoiler warning. A little more than halfway through the book, the rapist mentioned earlier tries to break into Allie's house with nefarious intentions, right? But Josh knocks him out before he's able to get very far. Josh and Allie come up with this bright idea to drop off his hog-tied body at his latest victim's family's house, hoping that they would just do the rest, which is just a wildly short-sighted plan when you really think about it. Is it just me, or is it insane to think that most normal people would just willingly murder someone even if they wanted to, right? Like, it just seems kind of unfair, selfish to put it on the family to do it when the cops would certainly suspect them in the first place for having motive. Murdering a rapist doesn't absolve you of what would definitely look like first-degree murder to a jury, right? Anyways, didn't have to dwell on that possibility for long, as this plan quickly falls to the wayside because, oops, Josh accidentally taped over both of the rapist airways, and now he's actually dead. The author at this point has gone to great lengths to make this very clear to the reader that this killing is justified because the person they've murdered is an atrocious, one-dimensional character, right? And I'm not saying I was mad about his death literally at all. But, you know, I was a tad taken aback by how cavalier our dynamic duo was about murdering someone, which I just think would be kind of a jarring experience for the typical person. To the point, they're able to talk about their mutual horniness in between making plans to dispose of this body, right? Or proceed to have a super cringy, will you be my girlfriend scene in the car where the body is in the trunk decomposing. Are there stakes? Is this supposed to be the dark and dark romance? Can we take literally nothing seriously? The answer is no, because the bar is actually in hell. Literally, Allie says things like, he had countless of opportunities to hurt me, but didn't. Heart eyes emoji, hashtag future father of my children. Which, remember, it's been like a few days and a couple steamy hookups. Okay. Anyways, Yeah, spice alone just isn't enough for me, but I know it is for some people. That's totally cool, totally understandable. Not here to kink shame. I can see why some people like this book. I just think for me, I need something like this to have a bit more foundational plot to kind of hold it up, you know? I don't even know what I would search for to find these videos. What is it? Masked men thirst trap? Is that how the kids are doing it? I don't go on TikTok a lot. Masked men thirst trap. Okay.
On your knees, princess. Breathe out. I want to see you. Keep the lights on. Just look at my eyes. Don't look away.
That's an AI video. Oh, look, it's the lights out.
A character.
Am I?
Okay.
You're just.
Open those legs. Open those legs. You're gonna.
No. Definitely an egg.